Greetings, this is John Ellison, aka John 09989, and welcome. For this video I'm going to be ranking what I consider the worst to best films that I watched for the first time in 2019. Now, some of those films were released during that year and some had already been released, keeping in mind that there are lots of films out there that I've yet to see. And so my reasons for watching those films: A, research; B, boredom; C, nothing else to do; D, doing some boring activity and needed something to keep me going, and so forth. So last year I watched about 70 films. So here's my list. So starting from number 70, which is the Princess Diaries 2 Royal Engagement. I have to be honest, before I saw this film, and one other which I'll get to in a bit, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh was my all-time least favourite Disney movie of all time. Now I can confirm that the sequel to The Princess Diaries takes the spot. Dialogue's awkward, the script's terrible. I have nothing against the cast, but Julie Andrews used to pick better movies, i.e. Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music. Why I call the script and dialogue a shambles: the princess herself looks as if she wants to do something and then changes her mind a second later. And it's like, a constant loop throughout. And don't even get me started on the scene with the maids singing Frere Jacques and hitting each other with saucepans on the heads. Princess Diaries 2, that was, to me, one of the worst movies of all time. I mean, it's like, as a nostalgia critic said, it's like a 5-year-old wrote it. I don't know if he said 5-year-old or 4-year-old or whatever. It's like a little kid wrote it, or either that or the script writers were drunk or high on drugs. God knows. But anyway, let's go on to the next one. That's number 69, Belle's Magical World, or as you like, Beauty and the Beast 3. Another film which I find worse than The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I mean, the first Beauty and the Beast film is without a doubt a masterpiece. Second one was fine, but this one, again, bad scripting, awkward dialogue, and Beast and Belle's arguments sound rather childish. I mean, they're bickering over which one should apologise first. I mean the bit where the Beast says, "I will never apologise." That one is such a joke. There's no proper storyline. This is what I dislike about most anthology films. There's no story. There's a lot of plots that end so quickly, and and dialogue is also forced. As Nostalgia Critic once said, it's kind of got material which looks like it's aimed for really young children. Number 68, disaster movie, and as if I even need to say why. Obviously, there's not a lot that can be said that I can't agree with. I mean, the main problem with this one is the main point of this movie. I mean, if it's supposed to parody disaster movies, then I'm afraid I don't get the jokes. Unfortunately, there's too much forced pop culture, and none of the parodies could even have anything to do with past disaster movies like Twister or Poseidon Adventure or Towering Inferno. None of that. I remember looking at the opening scene and you see an Amy Winehouse type saber-toothed tiger during the before Christ, sort of prehistoric before Christ period. I mean, I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be. The only time I laughed was the bit with the chipmunks, which might not be a good sign, but that was it. It's obviously made by the same idiots, Jason Friedberg and what's his face, Aaron something. I mean, they've made a lot of parody movies with forced pop cultural references, one of them being Date Movie. But obviously Scary Movie, that I give credit, but that's another story. Disaster Movie is a complete disaster. Number 67, The Princess Diaries 1, that is. The princess herself starts off good, she's a nerdy girl, but all that changes when she finds out her grandma, played by Julie Andrews, is a queen, and that there happens to be rules about being a princess. And just like so many college/teen movies, there's one of my least favourite cliches when nerds are given a makeover. I mean, why do such films have to be so nerdophobic? I mean, in the modern period, you wouldn't have to get made over or something. But anyway, number 66, Xanadu. The only thing I remember about Xanadu is Electric Light Orchestra and Olivia Newton-John's contribution to the soundtrack. I've not been a huge fan of Electric Light Orchestra's materials ever since their third album. I forget what it was, the one with Showdown. I loved their first two albums when Roy Wood was a member. But anyway, as for the movie, it does look colourful, but storyline's pretty forgettable. Number 65 is Not My Kid, a TV movie from 1985. It's about some teenage girl who goes on drugs and experiences post-drug issues. Nothing that spectacular. I'm pretty sure I've seen some of that stuff before. Number 64 is Home Alone 3. The first two Home Alone movies were fine. This one not that brilliant. It could have been worse, but we don't see any of the original characters from the last two movies, and the story is rather awkward. This kid named Alex, he has chicken pox, and the parents keep leaving him alone in his house, and as a result is haunted by burglars. Jeez, what kind of parents are those jerks? I did find some bits funny, i.e. when he reports a burglary to the police, but then they find that the burglars have gone, and then the police tell him off for raising quote unquote false alarms, and Alex's mum says to him to apologise to the police, and he's like, "Excuse me for being a good citizen." Though, aside from that being a comedy, not that comedic. And I think it would have been better if they did have at least some of the characters from the first two movies. Number 63 is The Jungle Book 2. Obviously, this will never beat the first one. I mean, this is a movie that could be worse. I know a lot of people hate it. I do like how Mowgli entertains his new adoptive siblings. The little boy's a bit over the top sometimes, which is why it has it down the list. The cast is fine. Haley Joel Osment is Mowgli, and you've got Tony Jay as Shere Khan, John Goodman especially as Baloo. I mean, obviously he'll probably never replace Phil Harris, but then it's John Goodman. I mean, obviously Phil Harris is now dead, so there was no way they could bring him back to life. But anyway, it does have a weak storyline compared to the first one. Number 62, Suds, which is one of the silent movies of the 1910s and 1920s. Most silent movies, hugely enjoyable, but this one feels too much like one of those romantic films. I'm not really much of a romantic comedy buff. So that's the end of my not so great section. So now on to the more mediocre section, and which I'm now on to number 61, and number 61 is The Lion King 1.5. Yep, another Disney sequel. I mean, Timon and Pumbaa are fine characters, but I kind of question their involvement with certain elements which you see in the first film. I mean, yeah, this film, basically it's, what they're doing is they're watching some sort of film, and then it's kind of recreating the first film, and then somehow they're copying and pasting Timon and Pumbaa in the opening scene where Simba's born, and in the wildebeest stampede. And what brings this down is one of the things that brings this down is when Pumbaa farts in the middle of Simba's presentation. But again, could be worse. It wasn't too bad. Number 60, another Disney film, Valiant. Well, it's a sort of Disney film. It's got a good cast, i.e. John Cleese, Steve Coogan, Ricky Gervais, I think also Rick Mayall. I wanted to see this film when it first came out, but I hadn't got round to it. Eventually, last year I did. I do like the way the storyline's structured, pointing out how the pigeons helped the armies during World War II. But the animation could have done with a bit of work. And do they really need fart jokes? Yeah, there's a scene where Ricky Gervais's character is trying to save someone, but then yeah, he farts. God, why do they need those things in family movies? I kind of question. Number 59 is La La Land. And I think that since the late 70s, early 80s, live-action musicals have gone downhill. La La Land was okay, and it made up for it. There's not a lot to say about this one. On to number 58, which is another musical. That's Mary Poppins Returns. Obviously, it's a sequel to Mary Poppins. It was enjoyable, though I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't bring back Bert and replaced him with another chimney sweep guy. And, well, it was interesting to see how Jane and Michael got on when they grew up. Michael's got kids and his wife is dead, and they've been living with his older sister Jane since his wife's death. And it's kind of peculiar that Mary herself doesn't hardly ages. Still, it's pretty good to see Dick Van Dyke as Mr. Dawes Jr. Because, yeah, I think that's what a lot of people forget. He didn't just play Bert in the first one, but he also played Mr. Dawes Sr. And, well, I'm glad they had him as Mr. Dawes Jr. in this one because of it. Well, I don't want to spoil the ending to the first one, but this one could have done with more memorable songs, because I grew up with Mary Poppins 1. I had it taped off the TV as a lad. But yeah, Mary Poppins Returns, in my opinion, won't be the first one. Number 57, The Bishop's Wife. I saw this when I was at the gym. It was okay. I actually just saw kind of a bit of it. think, if I remember rightly, there's some elements I find very much similar to It's a Wonderful Life. There's a guardian angel in it, and some rom-coms. Again, not a fan of the genre. Number 56, Cooties. This one is a horror film from the 21st century, and it's set in a high school. Some of the students are getting some sort of disease. Basically, you could call it the Black Death in the school. Not a lot to say about that one. Number 55 is Cold Pursuit. Saw this in the cinema. It's got Liam Neeson in it. Had some really cool action sequences. Not very memorable. Number 54 is The Good Dinosaur. The one complaint I have with The Good Dinosaur is the animation of the dinosaurs. Could have done with some detail. But if there's one thing Pixar are truly awesome at, it's the storytelling aspects, i.e. when the main character loses his dad in a falling accident, but befriends a cave boy who's responsible for the death. Didn't expect it to be as good as Inside Out or Up or Coco. Number 53, Plague. I suppose it's relevant to what's going on right now. Only the disease is caused by a chemical accident in a science lab, which starts to spread. Number 52 is The Little Rascals Save the Day. This might sound a little bit debatable, but I just want a little bit better than Little Rascals 1, the one from 1994. But of course, none of them was as good as the original episodes of The Little Rascals. But in my opinion, best moment in the film is when Alfalfa and Darla are singing I Got You Babe. Number 51 is Niagara Falls, directed by Gordon Douglas, same guy who did some of the Laurel and Hardy films and some of the Little Rascals episodes. I think he did those. This one's amusing, but not as much as Laurel and Hardy or the Little Rascals. Number 50 is the Ten Commandments. Personally, I prefer the 1956 version and the Prince of Egypt. I did question how short Moses' story was and how it went straight to the modern setting, but it weren't too bad. Number 49, Hated, G.G. Allen and the Murder Junkies. Todd Phillips' first film. And there was another film of his I was watching last year, but I'll get to later on. Obviously, this is G.G. Allen's story. Basically, for those of you who don't know, he was a punk rock musician and was very famous for using the stage as a lavatory and writing such controversial songs, i.e. I Want to Fuck Your Brains Out, Hard Candy Cock, etc. I always found his story interesting, but trouble is the imagery was on the film was rather gross. I mean, yeah, you can see him defecating on the stage, and you can definitely see his naked body. But, well, you probably would have had to show it anyway. Okay, number 48, The Night Stalker, which is a horror TV movie which you could say is the X-Files of its day. Not quite as memorable as the X-Files, but still enjoyable. Number 47, The Great Mike. And this one is a 1940s movie that stars Carl Switzer, aka Alfalfa from the Little Rascals. And yeah, this is one of his post-Little Rascals projects. And he was in his teens at the time, and he did a great job in that one. This one's about his bond, his character's bond, that is, with a horse and a dog. Fairly pleasant, nothing that exciting. Going on to number 46 is Legally Blonde. I was filming a stage show version of the film, which was performed by a local operatic society, and therefore inspired me to have a look at the film, because, well, I knew it got made into a film. I knew there was a musical version of it, well, I thought I'd have a look at the film. I'd heard of it, but I'd never seen it. So, yep, this was my chance. Yeah, typical chick flick, but one that's done, one of the films that's done most perfect. It does show that people need to be taken more seriously, no matter what their looks. And yes, you can guess this law student. She's blonde, but they don't take the lecturers don't take her seriously. In fact, treat her like a bimbo, basically. But she does eventually prove them wrong. Number 45, Saltwater Moose. This one's a 90s film. Well, you can definitely tell it's aimed for children. This one's got Timothy Dalton in it. It was quite basic, well, especially through the dialogue. Two kids, they're helping a bull moose off an island. The moose basically is stranded on that island, and well, dialogue is also quite simplistic, but still very pleasant. Not quite so fly away home, but still worth viewing. On to number 44, Sliding Doors. Heard a lot about this film. It was parodied in that Malcolm in the Middle episode, Bowling, from season 2. In fact, I remember when I was at uni, and my lecturer was talking quite a bit about it, considering that some of our projects were quite similar to Sliding Doors, even though, well, I had not seen it. Well, that was until last year. I did try to get round to watching it, but yeah, it's another rom-com, and as you know, I'm not a fan of rom-coms, but still it has great editing, and it shows different viewpoints on what would happen if Helen, who's recently been fired from her job, boarded a train, or if she missed a train. Excuse me. On to number 43, Drag Me to Hell. I saw this one at a horror-themed nerd convention. Great imagery, one of Sam Raimi's bests. Yeah, Sam Raimi, he's the same director who did some of the Spider-Man films. Number 42, Terminator Dark Fate. Went to see this with a friend of mine. Action sequences, they're the big winner for this film. But it does have a questionable storyline involving T-800, or should I say Carl. I won't give it away, but there's a bit of a confused plot right in the middle of the film. Well, I mean, it's great to see Arnold Schwarzenegger again, and of course Linda Hamilton reprising her role as Sarah Connor. I know some people have hated this one, but I mean, opinions might change on this one, but I don't think I'm ready to place it at the bottom yet. Number 41, British Intelligence. It's got Boris Karloff in it. It's a World War One spy film released in 1940. Pretty a laid back one. Number 40, Annabelle Comes Home. One of two films from the Conjuring series, which I watched in cinemas with a friend of mine. This one was enjoyable, but I think I do need to watch a few more films from the series, i.e. Annabelle 1 and Conjuring 1. I'll have to have a look at on Wikipedia or something. 39, Saturday the 14th. Yeah, I know this one was supposed to be a parody of Friday the 13th. Though I was pretty oblivious about the fact. Most interesting part is the enchanted book that the kids find. Well, it's kind of similar to another film I saw. Each time they turn pages, a monster is released. Kind of like the Goosebumps movie, I suppose. Number 38, Caligula. Bought this on DVD from the local market. Don't know why this one's one of the most hated movies of all time. I didn't see very much bad about it. Great to see a movie about the famous Roman emperor who was insane and abused and killed his family at quite a young age. Malcolm in Malcolm McDowell, he was so great for the part, methinks. Number 37 is Ready Player One, one of Steven Spielberg's films. Great visuals and set designs. Contrasts really well with the current virtual world, though not quite as brilliant as some of Steven Spielberg's other movies, i.e. E.T., Jurassic Park, George Schindler's List, you name it. But still pleasant. Number 36 is a Roger Corman film, War of the Satellites. Roger Corman makes some great movies on low budgets. This one, no exception. Though it's more basic, simply it's about Earth being at war with some alien force while a satellite is being launched. Yeah, I think Roger Corman, he's a great director. As you know, I've seen Little Shop of Horrors and The Raven. War of the Satellites, yet another film worth watching. Okay, number 35, Damnation Alley, based on Roger Salaz's short story. It's a sci-fi war story that's going on within the Soviet Union. Number 34 is Annie Hall, one of Woody Allen's masterpieces. Even though it is a rom-com, but one that's done right. Number 33, They Shall Not Grow Old. Of course, it was from the previous year for the 100th anniversary of the end of World War One. And it was really clever that they pieced together old footage from the events and coloured it. Though typical documentary, of course. Number 32, The Bat. I refer to the 50s version that stars Vincent Price, who, along with a colleague of his, is on the hunt for a serial killer known as the Bat, not a literal bat, that's terrorising the city. Pretty interesting. Number 31, The Sugarland Express. Steven Spielberg's second feature, only it was the first theatrical one, being that Jewel was a TV movie. It's about a couple who are on the run from jail and want custody for their kid. And yeah, we can feel for that kid because he's missing his parents a lot. And basically it's parents are on the run. It's actually, apparently it's a true story as well. And one that's done brilliantly. Number 30, Doctor Sleep. Sequel to The Shining. I saw this on Halloween with my girlfriend. And yeah, it was very much worth it. I mean, I'm not sure what other people think of it, but I definitely give it a watch. It's about a mature Danny, what's his surname? Lloyd? Oh, no, Torrance. That's it. Why do I think of Lloyd? Yeah, it's set decades after he lost his father, who tried to kill him and his mother, and Danny's mother, that is. But then, yeah, shan't give the ending away to the first one in case nobody's seen it. And yes, he's a psychiatrist, but still haunted by that house that he was staying in throughout those events. 29, Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, about a TV hostess who quits TV showbiz basically because the studio executives are sexually harassing her. And then got Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. I'm a huge fan of the Fast and Furious series. I don't remember this one as much as, say, Fast and Furious 1 and 5 and 7, but car scenes were always fun, I can tell you that. Okay, number 27, The Vampire Bat, horror movie from 1932. 33. Yeah, quite entertaining, just a bit. Number 26 is Television from 1986. Most of the filmmakers who were involved went on to Full Moon Pictures. Apparently, one got some negative reviews, but I think this one's quite good. It's about a family whose kids they come across this monster, this supernatural creature, and yeah, they try to help him. Yeah, a little bit like E.T., except slightly different. Number 25, Last Christmas, and this is one that came out in 2019. Obviously, as I said before, I'm not a huge rom-com fan or chick flick person. Thing about rom-coms is, to me, they're kind of predictable. I mean, you know, there's going to be this boy meets girl storyline, and then there's a breakup, and then they realise they're going to be idiots, that they've been idiots, and then they make up. This one was still very pleasant. It was my girlfriend's idea to go and see it. Yeah, there was a choice between that and Frozen 2. So yeah, we went along with Last Christmas. Yes, the one named after the Wham song. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you know that one, because they even sing that song sometime in the film. Most interesting bit though was how the Yugoslavian lady finds out that her country no longer exists. Yeah, it is a bit of a shame that Yugoslavia is not in existence no more. But anyway, number 24, Alita Battle Angel. Of course, I had no idea it was based on a manga comic book, and I've been avoiding superhero movies. Not that this one was a superhero movie, but apparently this one, yeah, is based on a manga series called Alita. Personally, well, I'll explain why I was avoiding superhero movies later on. On this occasion, well, yeah, I didn't care. It was awesome viewer, and I thought the roller sport was very creative, and sets were well designed. Number 23, Rocket Man, which is an Elton John biography. It contains such entertaining musical numbers. I'm especially glad that they included Saturday Night's Alright for Fighting, since that's my favourite song of his. Number 22, and speaking of music, Bullet Quo. Status Quo, who are one of my favourite bands, star in their very first feature. It was a truly adventurous one. Yeah, this one is an action movie, and the songs of theirs, they're always a lot of fun. Even their new song, one of their new songs, which is called Bullet Quo. Number 21, Buster, and yeah, this is the one with Phil Collins in his first lead role, and boy does he do a good job. Yeah, I've also seen him in Hawk, and as a detective who is called by Peter Banning to report the lost children. He was also in apparently he was also in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang as one of the kids in Bulgaria, although you don't recognise him because, well, he's not credited in that one. But anyway, on to Buster. Yeah, he shows a sympathetic view with his character. Yeah, he's basically he plays a gangster. He's got a wife and a daughter. He kind of keeps all of his criminal side from them, so not to freak them out or anything like that, and so not to get into trouble with the law. And such good songs, and yep, I definitely recommend that one. Number 20 is Help, I'm a Fish, a foreign animated feature from 2001 about some kids who turn into fishes. One of them, who is voiced by Aaron Spelling, who is the actor of Jesse in Breaking Bad, and yeah, he was quite young at the time. It's my idea of a modern family movie that's done really well. No fart jokes, no toilet humour, no heavy reliances on pop culture. Definitely what I recommend to my kids. Number 19 is Babes in Toyland, the Disney version from 1961. Very colourful, very catchy, very enjoyable. I did prefer the Laurel and Hardy version from 1934, but this one was still worth a watch. I mean, yeah, the story is simple, I'll admit, but still worth it. Okay, number 18, Unbroken. I went on before I met my girlfriend. I went on a date with someone, and she recommended that I watch Unbroken because she was recently watching that and she liked it, and I thought, yeah, I'll give that one a go. This one is written by the Coen brothers. It's got Angelina Jolie in it, and set during the Olympics during the Second World War. Another film worth watching. Number 17 is Ringu, a very famous Japanese movie about a videotape that kills people. Yeah, I can agree that it's been popular over the years, but I finally got around to watching it, and it was worth watching. I did watch one more film by the same director. I'll get to that later on. Number 16, Rollerball. Rollerball in question, it refers to a sport which basically blends basketball and rollerblading together, which I thought was very creative, and even the rules were very well set out. Let's see, it's got Shane Rimmer. He has a cameo in this one, and basically it's about this rollerball player. He does very well in the sport, and basically the corporation is trying to force him to retire, but obviously he's trying to stand up for himself, and this one's done brilliantly. I've yet to see the remake, but I've heard a lot about it, but I think one should judge for themselves. Number 15, Toy Story 4, which is the most recent film in the Toy Story franchise. It's pissed off some fans, and it's possible that my opinion might change on this film slightly. I did get teary-eyed during the ending, which I won't give away. At the moment, number 3 is my favourite one from the series. I rank number 4 currently higher than both 1 and 2, but as I say, opinions are likely to change. But it definitely is not going to be in my bottom list of films anytime soon at all. And I think it's probably pissed off fans because Bonnie, who's the new owner of the toys, has given up on Woody, and has recently constructed a new toy called Forky, who thinks he's trash, and he was quite. It did get a laugh when he was trying to throw himself away, but Woody was constantly trying to stop him. Obviously, he goes a bit too far, and so they end up pursuing the van, and Bonnie's upset that she's lost Forky. Would have quite liked the other characters to add a little bit more more of a contribution, but obviously Dom Rickles, who voices Mr. Potato Head, he's obviously now dead, so he won't be reprising his role anytime soon. And as for Bo Peep, another thing that's pissed people off, I actually like the new style that she's been dressed in. I think it's quite cool. Number 14, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And this was probably the one I was most looking forward to seeing in cinemas. I mean, considering, it's been a new Quentin Tarantino film. Yep, he wrote it, he directed it, and basically it focuses on a stunt double as they navigate the rapidly changing film industry. Yeah, it goes. This is what I loved about it. The way the film industry has been changing all these years, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood goes to show that. The reason why I like Quentin Tarantino's films so much, especially Reservoir Dogs and Kill Bill, is his sense of narrative. He does use flashbacks, but a lot of them are very character driven. Number 13 is The Curse of La Llorona, another film I saw in pictures. And this might sound controversial, but I chose this over Avengers Endgame. I went to see Curse of La Llorona with a friend of mine, and at the very same time, a lot of people were queuing up to see the Avengers movie, and to be quite honest, the reason why I avoided the event, well, I'll get to that in a bit. As for the Curse of La Llorona, it's one of those films that's pissed people off, and I don't. To be honest, I can't really understand why. I mean, yes, there's a lot of jump scares, but I don't really mind those jump scares, to be honest. I think the cinematography is really good, and I think I call this a very underrated horror film. It's about a family who's haunted by a Mexican spirit. The mother, who's been widowed for some time, she's a social worker, and both of the kids they get wounded by the spirits, and I especially like the bit where Sam, the daughter, she's playing out in the rain, and then once she opens her umbrella, which is transparent, she sees the spirit quite through the umbrella, and then when she lifts it over her head, the spirit is gone. I thought that was quite good, actually. And this one doesn't have much dialogue in it. But I'm going to say I have no regrets seeing this film, and I especially have no regrets not seeing the Avengers Endgame, particularly because I didn't like the first movie in the first place. I thought it was dull and just one of those lame crossovers, and no real storyline. But Curse of La Llorona had a proper storyline compared to that, methinks. Enough said. Number 12, Stan and Dolly. I'm a huge Laurel and Hardy fan, and I was quite hesitant at first to see this movie. I mean, I thought it was going to be one of those crappy-ass remakes of a short film series. Not to say that the Three Stooges movie and the Little Rascals movie were awful or anything like that. But in both of those films, they, because most of the original actors have died some time ago, they get actors different actors portraying them, and very hardly they, in a very hard way, they kind of recreate certain famous scenes. Those two are kind of average. That's what I was kind of thinking about Stan and Ollie. I mean, Steve Coogan as Stan Laurel. And when I looked at the poster, he looked more like Frank Spencer than Stan Laurel. But then I saw it, I proved myself wrong. It actually, well, basically it's more of a biographical drama, the film is. And yeah, Steve Coogan, he does a fine job as Stan Laurel. And John C. Reilly as Oliver Hardy, he does a good job as well. And there is a famous scene when they're bickering. I mean, there's a good scene where they're bickering during a party, and even doing a bit of their old slapstick stuff in front of the audience. But then, of course, I was a little bit teary-eyed watching the final few moments. And apparently one of my friends was in it. Basically she's an extra. Number 11, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. This one is an animated feature, and it's one that's way better than those live action movies. Basically the crew, they're solving a mystery in relation to zombies, and the imagery is spectacular, and need I say what happens? There's a really good plot twist involving the zombies as backstories, but I won't say what it is, and I don't want to spoil it. Number 10 is Snatch, pretty much like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, sort of like a sequel if you like. Definitely funny and action-packed. Very good sequences, worth a watch. Number 9 is House on Haunted Hill, the 50s version. That is not the 1999 one. I've already seen the 1999 one. This one I like a little bit better. Basically takes place just in this one location, the house that is. Kind of reminds me of those, murder mystery games where you're going through a labyrinth and trying to solve some mysteries, etc. Number 8 is Tetsuo, a Japanese experimental avant-garde film from 1989. I was recommended it by a filmmaking friend of mine when I was telling him about a short film script that I wrote, which I think was quite suggestive. Pretty much impressed some of my mates. One of them said it wasn't his sort of humour, but that's exactly what this friend of mine was telling me. That it reminded him of Tetsuo, so I had a watch of it, and very good imagery, you name it. Number 7 is Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. I'm a huge fan of the Batman franchise. I must admit, though, I've been avoiding lots of superhero movies from recent years, pretty much because I think the superhero genre is going downhill, and Marvel especially, they're not concentrating enough on the storylines. They're just like, oh look, there's Incredible Hulk, oh look, there's Iron Man, etc, etc. This one, obviously, Mask of the Phantasm is from 1993, so I gave it that, and the animation's brilliant, and Joker's as badass as ever. There's one more Batman movie, well, sort of Batman movie I watched from the from um, one more Batman movie I saw from the first time last year. I sure got, and it's actually the next one, number 6, which is Joker. Yeah, I was reluctant at first considering it's based on a superhero franchise, but that was until a friend of mine persuaded me to come and see it. It was celebrating his birthday at the time, and so I thought it would be it would wouldn't be good if I missed out on it. And yeah, it was much better than I thought it was going to be. I've had no regrets seeing it. It's about basically just focuses on Arthur Fleck, the Joker that is, and yeah, he's got mental health issues, and so is his mum, and he's taken a lot of abuse during his job as a street clown, and he's even, well, when he finds out that Thomas Wayne is his dad, he tries to make amends with him, but Thomas Wayne thinks he's insane and is annoyed at him for touching his son, even though he's only trying to entertain him. And I'm particularly fond of the scene where he's being interviewed by this guy named Murray Franklin, who's a stand-up comedian, and at one stage he's like, everybody just yells and screams at each other. Nobody's civil anymore. Nobody thinks what it's like to be the other guy. You think like men like Thomas Wayne think what it's like? They don't. They think that we'll just sit there and take it like good little boys, which is exactly how I feel about Boris Johnson right now and his fellow fascist politicians. But that's a different story. Yeah, definitely another one I recommend. Now we're in the top 5, and so starting at number 5, which is The Never-Ending Story, which is about a lad who named Bastien, who's he lives with his widowed father, and he's a target for bullies. And one day, whilst he's being pursued by them, he comes across this cantankerous bookseller who warns him about the dangers of the books. And but then he comes across this book, which transforms him into the transports him, I meant to say, into a fantasy world. And it's very creative, very inventive. Set designs are very well done. I was watching that for research when I was studying my creative writing course. My plan is to write feature films aimed for family audiences. This, I feel, is one of the greatest examples of a family feature. It was made in 1984, and need I point out the elements. And now at number 4, it's a mad world. Obviously, one of the good things about this film is its amazing cast. Yes, it's a purely all-star cast. There's Mickey Rooney, Buster Keaton, Terry Thomas, quite a lot of Disney veterans, quite some actors from the golden age. Too many to name, but that's not all. It's basically the plot quite simple, really. A group of citizens go to find some buried treasure under some sort of monument, and yeah, it's a race against time, pretty much who can find it first. It was parodied in that Simpsons episode, Home of the Vigilante. I saw that one way before the film, of course. But yeah, it was very very amusing and very adventurous. Number three, the Diary of Anne Frank. This is one of the Holocaust movies. This was years before Schindler's List and The Pianist came out. It's one of the rare Holocaust-based movies which is safe for children, pretty much safe for children to watch. Of course, what with it being rated U. First time I heard of that film was when someone in a performing arts society, which I used to be a member of, performed a monologue of the titular character Anne Frank. Of course, keeping in mind that that's based on a true story. Anne Frank unfortunately died during the Second World War when she was about 15, and yeah, she wrote this diary, and yeah, she was one of those one of those people who got evicted by the Nazis, and I think you probably know the rest. Very dramatic. And you do feel a bit of sympathy for Anne Frank and her family. I very much recommend it. Number two, Dark Water. It's by the same director who did Ringu. This one's about a divorced lady and her kindergarten daughter who move into this new flat, only to find that it's facing constant flooding. It's in terms of psychology and scariness. I mean, being that it's a horror movie, I would say in a similar flavour to Don't Look Now, some of Nicholas Roeg's films. What's pretty amazing about this film is the cinematography, the fact that in just about in every shot you see a bit of water, whether it be from rain, whether it be a river, and so forth. And you do feel incredible sympathy for the mother and the daughter. I mean, yeah, the mother's going through a pretty messy divorce, but then the fact that there's constant leakage in her flat is making things worse for them too. And number one, Martian Child. For those of you who don't know, Martian Child is a family feature from 2007. It's based on a memoir written by this guy who as a kid believed in the existence of life on Mars, and pretty much that's he's widowed, and they planned to have a kid together, but then after his wife's death he's been coping really hard. But then eventually he adopts this kid. Well, I should say the guy's name's David. The boy's name is Dennis. He's 6 years old, and yeah, he believes that he's actually from Mars, and yeah, questions the surroundings around him, and does some pretty questionable things, which of course, according to we the audience and other characters. Like for instance, there's a scene at a garden party where David and Dennis are there, and Dennis he pours a bit of some cola onto his hot dog, and one of the kids is like, "Mom, he's being gross." I could be wrong, but I kind of suspected that that kid had Asperger's or autism or something. And I, yes, there's quite there's X% of people in the world who have Asperger's slash autism, and he Dennis I think does show a few traits in relation to those, and I love the father son connection between the two, and I love how they try to understand each other, and it's very dramatic. I know it's also a comedy, but I was more invested in the drama. It's a very underrated family feature. It's one I'd definitely show to my kids. It's there's no it goes to show that you can accomplish a family feature without fart jokes, without toilet humor, without too much pop culture. It's yeah, it's this is what so many kids are missing. Um, a film which doesn't need all of that, and Martian Child is does it just awesomely. And so that was my um, ranking of worst to best films that I saw for the first time in 2019. Keeping in mind that some films were released during that year and some were released way before then. And of course, there's a bajillion films out there that I've yet to see. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.